Success isn't an accident. It's a result of how we think, how we respond, and how we train our minds every single day. If you want to achieve more, feel more fulfilled, and truly reach your potential, it starts with the way you program your mind. Today, I want to share 5 ways you can actively reprogram your mind for success. The first step is awareness. You cannot change what you don't recognize. Begin by observing your thoughts. Notice the patterns that keep you stuck. Are you quick to doubt yourself? Do you focus on what could go wrong rather than what could go right? Awareness is the key to transformation because it allows you to consciously decide which thoughts serve you and which ones hold you back. Every successful person starts here, by understanding themselves deeply. The second step is questioning your beliefs. Most of us operate on autopilot, following beliefs that were formed years ago, sometimes in childhood, sometimes from society's expectations. Ask yourself, which of my beliefs are helping me and which are limiting me? If you believe that failure is the end of the road, your mind will stop you before you even try. But if you shift your belief to see failure as feedback, suddenly obstacles become opportunities. Reprogramming your mind requires challenging those old limiting stories and replacing them with empowering truths. The third step is visualization and mental rehearsal. Your brain cannot easily distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined. When you consistently picture yourself succeeding, solving problems, and achieving your goals, your mind starts preparing your body and your habits to make it a reality. Olympic athletes, successful entrepreneurs, and innovators all use this principle. Every time you visualize success, you reinforce the neural pathways that make it easier to act in ways that align with that vision. The fourth step is surrounding yourself with the right influences. Your environment and the people around you play a massive role in shaping your mindset. If you spend your time with people who doubt, complain, or criticize, your mind will adopt that negativity. But when you surround yourself with people who inspire, challenge, and encourage you, your mind naturally adapts to that energy. Success is contagious. Ideas are contagious. Mindsets are contagious. Protect your mind from toxic inputs and feed it with growth-oriented influences. Finally, the fifth step is consistent action and reflection. Thinking alone will not change your mind. You have to act on it. Take small, deliberate steps every day toward your goals. Afterward, reflect on what worked and what didn't. Reflection is the feedback loop that rewires your brain, helping it recognize patterns of success. Over time, consistent action and thoughtful reflection reprogram your mind so that success is no longer an occasional outcome. It becomes your default state. Reprogramming your mind isn't a one-time event. It's a daily commitment to awareness, challenging beliefs, visualization, positive influences, and consistent action. If you adopt these 5 practices, you will find yourself thinking differently, acting differently, and achieving more than you ever thought possible. Success starts in the mind, but it grows in your habits, your environment, and your relentless pursuit of improvement. 5 keynotes of the speech: awareness is observe and understand your current thought patterns. Challenge your beliefs. Identify and replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones. Visualization, use mental rehearsal to train your brain for success. Surround yourself with positive influences. Your environment shapes your mindset. Consistent action and reflection. Daily action combined with reflection rewires your mind for success. Awareness is the foundation of everything. You cannot change what you do not see. And the first step to reprogramming your mind for success is to observe your own thoughts and behaviors with honesty and clarity. Most people go through life on autopilot. We wake up, follow routines, respond to situations the same way we always have, and rarely stop to question why we think or act the way we do. Our minds are filled with automatic thoughts, many of which are rooted in fear, doubt, or past experiences that no longer serve us. Becoming aware means pausing and shining a light on those patterns. It is noticing the moments when your mind doubts your abilities, when it worries unnecessarily, or when it drifts into negative thinking. Awareness is not about judgment. It is about recognition. It is about saying to yourself, this is what I am thinking. This is what I am feeling. And now I can choose whether to continue down this path or redirect my energy. When you start practicing awareness, you begin to notice the subtle ways your mind is holding you back. For example, you may catch yourself thinking, I'm not good enough, or I'll never be able to do this. These thoughts might seem harmless at first, but over time they create a mental environment that limits your potential. By becoming aware of these automatic responses, you create a space between the stimulus and your reaction. In that space, you have the power to choose a different thought, a more constructive perspective, or a productive action. This is the moment where true transformation begins, when you realize that your thoughts are not absolute truths, but choices you can influence. Awareness also allows you to identify patterns in your behavior. You might notice, for instance, that every time you face a challenging task, you procrastinate or find distractions. You might recognize that certain situations trigger stress, self-doubt, or anxiety. These patterns are signals, not failures. They are messages from your subconscious showing you where your mind has been conditioned to react in ways that are no longer helpful. By observing these patterns consistently, you gain insight into your mental habits, and insight is power. Once you understand the tendencies of your mind, you can begin to consciously reshape them. Another aspect of awareness is understanding the influence of your inner dialogue. The way you speak to yourself sets the tone for your entire day. If your internal voice is critical, pessimistic, or defeatist, it will color every experience and interaction. On the other hand, if your inner dialogue is encouraging, solution-focused, and confident, it provides a mental foundation that propels you towards success. Becoming aware means tuning into that voice, recognizing when it is unhelpful, and learning to speak to yourself with intention. It means replacing self-criticism with curiosity and judgment with understanding. Every time you catch a negative thought and choose a more empowering one, you are reprogramming your mind, even if the change is small. Practicing awareness also improves your ability to make decisions. When you are conscious of your thought patterns and emotional triggers, you are less likely to react impulsively or be swayed by habit. You can step back and analyze situations with clarity, choosing actions that align with your goals rather than your fears. This level of self-awareness is what separates those who drift through life from those who actively shape it. It transforms challenges into opportunities because you are no longer at the mercy of unconscious reactions. You can respond intentionally, and that response is what builds momentum towards success. Awareness is not something you achieve once and forget. It is a skill that must be practiced daily. Start by setting aside moments in your day to reflect on your thoughts, to observe your emotions, and to notice how your mind reacts to different situations. Journaling, meditation, or even simple pauses between tasks can create these opportunities. The key is consistency. Every time you pay attention to your mental patterns, you strengthen your ability to notice them in real time. Over time, awareness becomes second nature. You start catching thoughts and behaviors as they arise, giving you the power to intervene and redirect your mind toward constructive outcomes. Ultimately, awareness is about reclaiming control of your mind. It is the act of stepping out of autopilot and becoming an active participant in your own life. It is realizing that every thought, reaction, and belief can be observed, understood, and changed. When you cultivate awareness, you are laying the groundwork for every other aspect of mental reprogramming. Without it, you remain at the mercy of habits, fears, and limiting beliefs. With it, you gain clarity, insight, and the ability to consciously choose the thoughts and actions that will lead you to success. Awareness is the first step, the gateway, and the constant companion on the journey to reprogramming your mind and achieving your highest potential. Challenging your beliefs is one of the most powerful ways to reprogram your mind for success because the beliefs you hold shape every decision you make, every action you take, and every outcome you achieve. From the moment we are born, we begin to absorb ideas from the world around us, our parents, teachers, friends, and society at large. Over time, these ideas solidify into beliefs, and many of them operate beneath our conscious awareness. Some of these beliefs are empowering, pushing us forward and giving us confidence, but many are limiting, quietly telling us that we are not capable, that we don't deserve success, or that certain opportunities are out of reach. The challenge is that most people never stop to question these beliefs. They accept them as absolute truths, allowing them to unconsciously dictate the direction of their lives. Reprogramming your mind requires identifying these beliefs and actively deciding which ones serve you and which ones hold you back. The first step in this process is noticing the beliefs that influence your behavior. Pay attention to your automatic reactions, the assumptions you make about yourself and others, and the stories you tell yourself when faced with challenges. For example, if you often think, "I'm just not good at this," or "success is only for other people," you are operating under limiting beliefs that have become deeply ingrained. These beliefs may have originated from a single failure, criticism, or early life experience, but over time they form a filter through which you see the world. Becoming aware of these beliefs is essential because you cannot change what you cannot see. Once you recognize them, you can begin to question their validity. Questioning your beliefs requires curiosity and honesty. Ask yourself, is this belief based on fact or is it based on assumption? Is it helping me or is it holding me back? What evidence do I have that contradicts this belief? By critically examining your thoughts, you create an opening for change. This process is not always comfortable because many limiting beliefs are deeply tied to our sense of identity. You may feel resistance or doubt as you begin to challenge them, but discomfort is part of growth. Every time you question a belief, you weaken its automatic influence over your mind. Replacing limiting beliefs with empowering ones is the next step. This is not about wishful thinking. It is about consciously choosing thoughts that align with the outcomes you want to achieve. For example, if you have believed for years that failure defines you, replace that belief with one that sees failure as a learning opportunity. Instead of thinking, "I will never succeed," you might choose to think, "Every challenge teaches me something valuable and brings me closer to my goals." Over time, repeating these new beliefs strengthens the neural pathways in your brain that support success. Your mind begins to expect positive outcomes, look for solutions rather than problems, and approach challenges with resilience rather than fear. It's also important to recognize that challenging beliefs is not a one-time event, it is an ongoing practice. Life will constantly present situations that test old habits of thinking, and your beliefs will be challenged naturally. The key is to catch yourself when old limiting thoughts arise and consciously replace them with empowering alternatives. This repetition is what rewires the mind. Every small adjustment strengthens the habit of thinking in ways that support growth, confidence, and achievement. Another essential aspect of this process is surrounding yourself with perspectives that reinforce empowering beliefs. Books, podcasts, mentors, And communities that challenge you to think differently can accelerate the reprogramming of your mind. Exposure to ideas that expand your sense of possibility helps you internalize new beliefs more quickly. Conversely, remaining in environments that reinforce self-doubt or negativity will slow down the process. The people, media, and messages you engage with shape the framework of your beliefs, so choosing them consciously is part of reprogramming your mind. Challenging your beliefs also strengthens your ability to handle adversity. When your mind is conditioned to see limitations, obstacles become threats, and setbacks feel like confirmation of failure. But when you actively question and replace those limiting beliefs, setbacks become data points, opportunities to adjust, learn, and grow. You become resilient, confident, and proactive because your mind is no longer operating on autopilot. It works for you instead of against you, constantly aligning your thoughts with the success you want to create. Ultimately, challenging your beliefs is about taking ownership of your mind. It is about realizing that you are not bound by the ideas implanted in you long ago, that you can choose what to believe, and that these choices have the power to shape your life. By identifying limiting beliefs, questioning their validity, and replacing them with empowering alternatives, you reprogram your mind to expect success, take decisive action, and approach challenges with confidence. This process lays the groundwork for every other strategy in reprogramming your mind because the beliefs you hold determine your habits, your focus, and your ability to achieve your goals. The moment you begin to challenge your beliefs, you take the first step toward freeing yourself from mental limitations and unlocking the full potential of your mind. Visualization and mental rehearsal are powerful tools that the mind naturally responds to, and yet most people overlook them entirely. Your brain does not easily distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is real. When you spend time imagining yourself succeeding, your brain begins to create the neural pathways necessary to achieve those outcomes. This is not a vague concept or wishful thinking. It is a scientifically supported principle that top performers across every field use. From athletes to entrepreneurs to artists, the act of imagining yourself achieving your goals, performing at your best, and overcoming obstacles trains your mind to expect success. And when your mind expects success, your behavior begins to align with that expectation. The process begins by creating a clear mental picture of what you want to achieve. It is not enough to vaguely hope for success. You must see it in detail. Picture yourself completing your goals, performing the actions required, and experiencing the emotions that come with that success. Feel the confidence, the satisfaction, the pride. Imagine the environment around you, the people you interact with, the sounds, the sights, and even the small details that make the experience real. The more vivid your visualization, the stronger the neural imprint it creates. Your brain begins to encode the imagined experience as a rehearsal, which in turn prepares your body and your mind to act accordingly in reality. Mental rehearsal is equally important because it allows you to practice the steps necessary for success before you encounter the actual challenge. For instance, if you have a big presentation or a critical meeting, you can mentally walk through every part of it, your posture, your tone, your words, the responses from others, and how you handle them. By rehearsing in your mind, you reduce anxiety and uncertainty because the brain starts to recognize the scenario as familiar. This rehearsal makes your actions more fluid and confident when you face the real situation. Over time, repeated mental rehearsal strengthens your skills and your belief in your ability to perform under pressure. Visualization also trains your mind to focus on solutions rather than problems. When you imagine yourself successfully navigating obstacles, you begin to shift from a reactive mindset to a proactive mindset. Instead of worrying about potential failures or imagining what could go wrong, you start thinking about how you will overcome challenges and achieve your objectives. This shift in focus rewires your brain to notice opportunities rather than limitations. You begin to anticipate the steps needed for success, and your mind naturally develops strategies and creative solutions even before you take action. Consistency is key when it comes to visualization and mental rehearsal. The brain learns through repetition, and the more frequently you practice imagining success, the stronger the neural pathways become. Set aside time each day, even if it's only a few minutes, to visualize your goals and mentally rehearse the actions that will lead you there. Make it a deliberate practice. The moment you start this habit, you'll notice subtle but profound changes in your confidence, your clarity of action, and your ability to handle challenges. Visualization is not just a mental exercise. It shapes your reality by training your mind to expect, pursue, and achieve success. Visualization also strengthens emotional resilience. When you repeatedly imagine yourself succeeding despite setbacks or difficulties, your mind begins to associate challenges with learning and growth rather than fear or failure. This mental conditioning makes you less reactive to stress and more adaptive when obstacles arise. You start to respond to situations with calm, clarity, and a sense of control because you have already rehearsed the scenarios in your mind. This preparation reduces hesitation, self-doubt, and panic, giving you a decisive edge in real-life situations. Another benefit of visualization and mental rehearsal is that it enhances your self-belief. By consistently picturing yourself achieving goals and performing at your best, you reinforce the belief that these outcomes are possible. Your subconscious mind gradually aligns with this expectation, and your conscious actions follow suit. The separation between what you imagine and what you can achieve begins to shrink because your mind and body are already conditioned to act in ways that make your visualized success real. Ultimately, visualization, and mental rehearsal are about bridging the gap between your current reality and your desired future. They give your mind a blueprint to follow, creating familiarity, confidence, and clarity long before you take physical action. When you combine this practice with awareness and the challenging and limiting beliefs, you give your mind the tools it needs to act with precision, purpose, and resilience. Success starts in the mind, and by seeing it, feeling it, and rehearsing it, you make it inevitable. The people and environment around you shape your thoughts, beliefs, and ultimately your actions far more than most of us realize. Your mind is constantly absorbing cues from your surroundings, often without your conscious awareness. If the voices, messages, and influences you encounter are negative, critical, or limiting, your mind will adopt that energy and reflect it back in your behavior. On the other hand, when you consciously surround yourself with positivity, encouragement, and growth-oriented perspectives, your mind naturally begins to align with those values, habits, and ways of thinking. The path to reprogramming your mind for success requires careful attention to the quality of influences you allow into your life, because they play a pivotal role in shaping what you believe is possible. Begin by evaluating your inner circle. The people you spend the most time with are the ones whose beliefs, habits, and attitudes most strongly affect you. Do they inspire you to push your limits, explore new possibilities, and develop your potential? Or do they doubt your abilities, criticize your efforts, and settle for mediocrity? Success is often less about talent and more about mindset, and your mindset is highly contagious. If you want to grow, you must invest your time and energy in relationships that expand your perspective rather than limit it. This doesn't mean cutting everyone out of your life, but it does mean being intentional about whose input you internalize and whose influence you prioritize. Positive influences extend beyond people. They include books, podcasts, seminars, videos, and even the environments in which you spend your time. The media you consume shapes your worldview and your expectations of what is possible. If your feed, your playlists, or your reading material are filled with negativity, complaints, or fear-driven content, your mind will mirror that tone. Conversely, when you surround yourself with inspiring stories, practical guidance, and examples of success, your mind begins to absorb these patterns and align your behavior with growth and achievement. The environments you choose, whether physical, digital, or social, become fertile ground for the mindset you wish to cultivate. The influence of role models cannot be overstated. Seeing others achieve what you desire provides proof that it is possible, and your mind takes that as a signal that you can do it too. Mentors, coaches, and even successful peers serve as living examples of what consistent effort, strategic thinking, and resilience can produce. Engaging with such individuals exposes you to strategies, perspectives, and mindsets that might otherwise remain out of reach. By observing their habits and listening to their guidance, your own mindset begins to shift in subtle but profound ways. Positive influences accelerate learning and help you internalize success patterns faster than you could on your own. It is equally important to recognize and limit negative influences. Toxic environments, critical voices, or constant exposure to fear and doubt can erode confidence, instill limiting beliefs, and create mental friction that slows progress. Awareness of these influences is the first step. Once you identify them, you can consciously reduce exposure, create boundaries, or reframe your interactions to protect your mindset. This is not selfishness, it is strategic self-care for your mental and emotional growth. Your mind cannot be fully reprogrammed for success if it is constantly absorbing discouragement or skepticism from its surroundings. Consistency in seeking positive influences is crucial. A single exposure to inspiration is not enough to rewire your mind, but repeated exposure over time builds patterns of thought that support growth. Daily habits like listening to empowering content, engaging with mentors, participating in communities of like-minded individuals, or spending time with people who challenge you to grow reinforce a mindset geared towards success. Your brain begins to expect encouragement, opportunity, and learning rather than doubt and limitation. This repeated input gradually reshapes your beliefs, your behaviors, and your expectations. Surrounding yourself with positive influences also strengthens resilience. When challenges arise, the mindset you have cultivated through supportive relationships and empowering content helps you respond with clarity and focus rather than fear and hesitation. You begin to internalize problem-solving patterns, adopt a solution-focused approach, and see obstacles as temporary rather than permanent barriers. Your environment, both social and informational, becomes a tool that reinforces confidence, creativity, and persistence in the face of adversity. Ultimately, the influences you allow into your life are the scaffolding on which your mind builds success. By intentionally choosing relationships, media, environments, and role models that inspire, challenge, and expand your thinking, you provide your mind with the raw material it needs to reprogram itself for achievement. Your thoughts, actions, and outcomes will inevitably reflect the quality of these influences. Surrounding yourself with positivity is not just about feeling good. It is about creating the mental ecosystem that allows your potential to flourish, guiding your mind toward consistent growth, opportunity, and success. Consistent action and reflection are the engines that turn ideas and intentions into tangible results. No matter how much awareness you cultivate, how much you challenge your beliefs, how vividly you visualize success, or how carefully you curate positive influences, progress will remain limited without action. Action is the bridge between your thoughts and your reality. It is the consistent, deliberate effort that translates your mindset into measurable outcomes. The key is not sporadic bursts of activity, but steady, focused steps taken day after day, guided by a clear purpose and an understanding of your goals. Success is rarely a single breakthrough. It is the accumulation of repeated actions performed with discipline and intention. The first element of consistent action is clarity. You must know what you want to achieve and why it matters. Clear goals provide direction and focus, preventing your energy from being scattered across distractions or minor tasks. When you have a defined target, each action you take has meaning and contributes to your progress. Consistency becomes easier because your mind and body understand the purpose behind every step. This clarity allows you to prioritize effectively, ensuring that your efforts are aligned with outcomes that truly matter rather than being consumed by activity that has little impact. Reflection is the companion to action. Action without reflection is blind. It may keep you busy, but it does not guarantee improvement or learning. Reflection allows you to step back and analyze what worked, what didn't, and why. It provides insight into the patterns of success and failure, helping you refine your approach. After completing a task, achieving a milestone, or facing a challenge, take the time to evaluate your performance objectively. Ask yourself what strategies were effective, where mistakes occurred, and how you can adjust your actions moving forward. Reflection creates a feedback loop, turning experience into knowledge and knowledge into refined, more effective action. Consistent action also builds momentum. Each small step, no matter how minor it seems in the moment, contributes to progress. The accumulation of these steps compounds over time, creating a force that propels you forward even when motivation wanes. Momentum is a critical element of success because it reduces resistance and builds confidence. When you consistently take action, your mind begins to expect results and recognize your ability to achieve them, reinforcing self-belief. In this way, action fuels motivation rather than waiting for motivation to initiate action, a principle that separates those who reach their goals from those who remain stuck in planning and wishing. Reflection enhances the value of action by ensuring that your efforts are purposeful rather than random. Without reflection, you risk repeating ineffective strategies, overlooking lessons, and missing opportunities for growth. Reflection encourages learning from setbacks rather than being discouraged by them. Each failure or obstacle becomes data guiding your next steps. By combining consistent action with reflective analysis, you create a cycle of continuous improvement, gradually refining your skills, habits, and strategies to achieve increasingly better results. Another important aspect of this practice is adaptability. As you consistently take action and reflect on outcomes, you become more attuned to what is working and what is not. This awareness allows you to pivot when necessary, adjust strategies, and respond to challenges with agility. The combination of action and reflection trains your mind to be both disciplined and flexible, recognizing that success is not always linear but requires adjustment, persistence, and responsiveness to real-world feedback. Consistency also strengthens resilience. Every action, even small or imperfect, builds your capacity to face obstacles without being paralyzed by doubt or fear. Regular reflection helps you contextualize setbacks, preventing them from undermining your confidence. Over time, the habit of acting deliberately and reviewing outcomes creates a mindset that views challenges as temporary and solvable rather than insurmountable. This resilience becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. The more you act and reflect, the stronger your confidence grows, which in turn makes your actions more effective and your reflections more insightful. Ultimately, consistent action and reflection transform intention into reality. They are the mechanisms through which your awareness, belief changes, visualization, and positive influences take root and manifest in tangible results. By committing to deliberate, repeated action, and by examining your progress with honesty and insight, you create a self-sustaining system of growth and improvement. This approach ensures that your mind is not just trained to think differently, but to act differently, to learn from experience, and to continuously move closer to the success you envision. Consistent action and reflection are not optional. They are the engine that drives the transformation of your potential into achievement. Reprogramming your mind for success is not a one-time effort. It is a journey, a daily commitment, and a deliberate practice. It begins with awareness, noticing the thoughts and patterns that shape your reality. It continues by challenging the beliefs that have held you back, replacing them with empowering perspectives that open the door to possibility. Visualization and mental rehearsal give your mind a blueprint for achievement, preparing you to act with confidence and clarity. Surrounding yourself with positive influences ensures that your environment supports growth, inspiration, and resilience. And consistent action, coupled with thoughtful reflection, transforms all of these practices into real, measurable progress. When you combine these 5 strategies, you create a mindset designed for success. A mind that sees opportunities where others see obstacles, that responds to challenges with resilience rather than fear, and that acts deliberately toward goals rather than drifting aimlessly. The power to change your life lies within you, in the thoughts you nurture, the beliefs you choose, the vision you create, the influences you embrace, and the actions you take every single day. Success is not something that happens to you. It is something you build from the inside out. Begin today, commit to the process, and watch as your mind, your habits, and your life transform in ways you once thought were impossible.